Give me your favorite Spielberg film. Just give me the title. That's all. That's the trivia question for today. The first person to give me their favorite Spielberg film in the comments gets pinned to the top. And we are reading about a Spielberg film today, actually. Ready Player One. Ready Player One is a 2018 American science fiction adventure film based on Ernest Cline's novel of the same name, directed by Steven Spielberg from a screenplay by Zach Penn and Cline. It stars Ty Sheridan, Olivia Cook, Ben Mendelsohn, Lena Waithe, TJ Miller, Simon Pegg, and Mark Rylance. Set in 2045, much of humanity uses the Oasis, a virtual reality simulation, to escape the real world. The orphaned Wade Watts finds clues to a contest that promises the ownership of the Oasis to the winner, and he and his allies try to complete it before an evil corporation can do so. Development first began in 2010 when Warner Brothers acquired the rights to the book. In July 2015, Spielberg signed on to direct and produce the film, with casting for the film beginning in September 2015. Filming began in England in July 2016 and was completed in September 2016. The visual effects were handled by Industrial Light and Magic, or ILM, Digital Domain, and Territory Studio, with some pre-visualization done by The Third Floor. As with the novel, several popular culture references appear throughout the film, with references to The Shining, the Back to the Future franchise, and The Iron Giant appearing most prominently. Ready Player One premiered at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, March 11th, 2018, and was theatrically released by Warner Brothers Pictures in the U.S. on March 29th, 2018. The film received mostly positive reviews from critics, who praised its visuals, brisk pacing, and the performances of Sheridan and Rylance. However, there was some criticism for the lack of development among the film's supporting characters. It grossed over $582 million worldwide, as well as earning a nomination for Best Visual Effects at the 91st Academy Awards, 24th Critics' Choice Awards, and 72nd British Academy Film Awards. A sequel is currently in development. The plot. In 2045, people seek to escape from reality through the virtual reality entertainment universe called the Oasis, which stands for Ontologically Anthropocentric Sensory Immersive Simulation, created by James Halliday and Ogden Morrow of Gregarious Games. After Halliday's death, a pre-recorded message left by his avatar Anorak announces a game, granting ownership of the Oasis to the first to find the golden Easter egg within it, which gets locked behind a gate requiring 3 keys, which players can obtain by accomplishing 3 challenges. The contest has lured several gunters, or egg hunters, and the interest of Nolan Sorrento, the CEO of Innovative Online Industries, IOI, who seeks to control the Oasis himself by inserting intrusive online advertising. IOI uses an army of indentured servants and employees called Sixers to find the egg. Teenage orphan Wade Watts' avatar, Parzival, an avid gunter, participates in the first challenge, an unbeatable race, along with his best friends H and Artemis, a female avatar who Parzival has a crush on. Parzival regularly visits Halliday's journals, a simulated archive of Halliday's life and hobbies run by the curator. Wade receives the copper key from Anorak after he wins by driving backward, while Artemis, H, and his friends Daito and Sho all win the race afterward, later being collectively named the High Five on the Oasis's scoreboard. Sorrento asks mercenary IROC to learn Wade's true identity, intending to bribe him to win the contest on IOI's behalf. Wade and Artemis discover from the journal Sarento's wife, Karen Kira Underwood. Wade and Artemis visit the Distracted Globe nightclub to look for clues, where Wade confesses his love and true name to Artemis. They survive an IOI raid in which Artemis abandons Wade, explaining that her father died in debt to IOI. IROC, who was eavesdropping on their conversation, informs Sorrento of his findings. Sorrento contacts Wade with his offer. When rejected, Sorrento attempts to dispose of Wade by bombing his home, killing his Aunt Alice and her boyfriend Rick, among others. Artemis's player, Samantha Cook, takes Wade in. Together, they realize the second challenge relates to Halliday's regret of not pursuing a relationship with Kira. Along with H, Daito, and Sho, Parzival and Artemis search for the recreation of the Overlook Hotel. Artemis asks Kira to dance and wins the Jade Key. Sorrento's subordinate, Efnail Xander, storms the Gunters' hideout, taking Samantha to an IOI loyalty center to pay off her father's debt. Wade escapes with the help of the other High Five users, Helen Harris, H, Toshiro, Daito, and Zu Sho. In Helen's truck, Samantha escapes confinement after H and Parzival hack Sorrento's Oasis rig. The third challenge is found in Castle Anorak on planet Doom, where players must guess Halliday's favorite Atari 2600 game to earn the Crystal Key. IROC places a force field around the castle using the Orb of Ossivox, but Artemis soon disables it. The High Five lead an army of Oasis players against IOI's forces. Parzival kills Samantha's avatar, allowing her to flee IOI, with the High Five picking her up outside the building. Parzival and Sorrento fight in the Oasis, with Sorrento detonating the Cataclysm bomb, wiping out every avatar on planet Doom, including himself. Parzival survives using an extra life coin given to him earlier by the curator in a bet. He plays Adventure, winning the Crystal Key by locating Warren Robinette's Easter egg. He uses the 3 keys to enter a treasure room, where Anorak offers him a contract to sign. Parzival recognizes it as the one Morrow signed when Halliday forced him out of Gregarious Games and refuses to sign it. Anorak transforms into Halliday, who expresses his regrets in life and awards Parzival the Easter egg. Ogden Morrow appears, revealing he is the curator. Wade decides to run the Oasis, with the High Five inviting Morrow to join them as a consultant. As the IOI loyalty centers are shut down, the High Five make the controversial choice to close the Oasis every Tuesday and Thursday for people to spend more time in the real world, including Wade and Samantha, who start a relationship. The production, development, and casting. Warner Brothers bought the film rights for producers Dan Farah and Donald DeLean in June 2010, 1 year before the book was published. Ernest Cline was set to write the script for the film, which DeLean and Farah would produce. Eric Eason rewrote Cline's script, and Zach Penn was hired to rewrite the previous draft by Cline and Eason, who became uncredited for the final draft, along with Village Roadshow Pictures coming aboard. Steven Spielberg signed on to direct and produce the film, which Christy McCosco Krieger also produced, along with DeLean and Farah. Cline and Penn made several revisions while adapting the novel to the film. Most of these changes were to eliminate scenes that would be uninteresting in a visual format, such as when Wade beats a high score in Pac-Man or recites all the lines from the film War Games. Elle Fanning, Olivia Cooke, and Lola Kirk were the frontrunners for the role of Artemis, with Cooke announced as having been cast in the role by September 2015. In January 2016, Ben Mendelsohn joined the cast. In February 2016, Ty Sheridan was confirmed to play Wade after a lengthy casting search for the role. Simon Pegg was added to the cast in March, with Mark Rylance joining in April. By June, T.J. Miller, Hannah John Kamen, and Win Morisaki had also been cast in the film. In July, Philip Zhao joined the cast, with Lena Waithe, Ralph Ineson, McKenna Grace, and Letitia Wright being revealed as appearing in the film over time prior to the film's release. In October 2019, Dr. Sleep director Mike Flanagan revealed that Jack Nicholson, who portrayed Jack Torrance in The Shining, was approached to appear in the film, but declined the offer due to his retirement. Filming. Production was slated to begin in July 2016, but on July 1st, 2016, screenwriter Zach Penn confirmed that the first week of filming had already been completed. In August and September 2016, filming took place in Birmingham, England, standing in for Columbus, Ohio. Birmingham filming included on Livery Street in the Jewelry Quarter area of the city, which was used for multiple scenes in the film. Ludgate Hill car park lot on Lionel Street, in which caravan homes were partially built, was also used, and a planned explosion there caused some local businesses and residents to call emergency services, as no prior notice was given by the production team. Other locations in the city included the former industrial area of Digbeth, and some of the city's landmarks were erased and replaced with CGI buildings to create a dystopian future Ohio. Outside of Birmingham, filming also took place at Warner Brothers Studios, Leavesden, and at Solaris House, the former Sun Microsystems headquarters in Surrey. Principal photography wrapped on September 27, 2016. The visual effects. Industrial Light and Magic, Digital Domain, and Territory Studio developed the visual effects, with some pre-visualization done by the Third Floor. For 3 hours, 3 days a week, Spielberg met with ILM, which was in charge of the Oasis segments, and produced the bulk of the visual effect shots, with 900 in total. Spielberg remarked that this is the most difficult movie I've done since Saving Private Ryan, as 3 3-hour-long meetings a week were necessitated to discuss the visual effects. Visual effects supervisor Roger Guyot stated that the visual effects team would collaborate with Spielberg, and writers Klein and Penn are quoted as saying, "What we did at one point was to have a card for every single character that we considered to be a hero character within the movie, and we put them up on a board, and Steven and everyone else spent hours assigning them to scenes. We'd say, this is where we want whoever it would be, Batman, Chun-Li, or whoever, and then we went through the whole movie doing that. As the scenes developed, we got an understanding of how many characters we needed." Part of the film takes place in a virtual space based on the Overlook Hotel in the film The Shining. This was mostly a digital recreation using high-quality telescene of the original film, allowing new camera angles and shots that did not appear in the original. Some original footage from The Shining was also used with ILM's modifications. Only a few scenes in this sequence involved real actors, such as the appearance of the Grady twins, and required reproduction of The Shining's physical sets. The Shining sequence was post-processed with film grain and other aging effects to make the new footage closely resemble the original. During the production of Ready Player One, the VFX team built the sequence at the Overlook Hotel in the digital realm. Stanley Kubrick's blueprints were used to create the hotel in the film. ILM also had to produce digital versions of the film's many cultural references, including the DeLorean time machine from Back to the Future films, the Iron Giant, Chucky, and King Kong, modeled after the 1933 film version. The T-Rex from Jurassic Park was created from the base model ILM had created. Digital Domain facilitated pre-visualization with the Third Floor, motion capture, and virtual sets, and also created 300 visual effect shots for the primarily live action portions of the film. The virtual sets were powered by game engines and were used congruently with the motion capture process, with pre-visualization supervisor Scott Meadows explaining that in real time, Spielberg would put on a headset and scout the sets and make adjustments. And the music. On June 9th, 2016, John Williams was initially going to form the film's score. However, in July 2017, Williams left the project in favor of scoring Spielberg's The Post, and Alan Silvestri took over scoring duties for the film. The official score was released by Water Tower Music as a 2-CD set on March 30th, 2018, with vinyl and cassette releases projected. At Spielberg's request, Silvestri references his own music from Back to the Future within the film's score, as well as quoting music written by other composers, including Max Steiner's theme from King Kong, Akira Ifukube's main theme from Godzilla, and the score by Wendy Carlos and Rachel Elkind from The Shining. The cultural references. Ready Player One pays homage to popular culture from various time periods, mainly the 1970s and 80s, but also extending into the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. Reviewers have identified over 100 references to films, television shows, music, toys, video games, anime, and comics from these eras. Klein did not have any issues with these copyrighted elements when he published the book, but was aware that securing all necessary rights would be a major obstacle for a film adaptation. This task was eventually made easier thanks to Spielberg's reputation in the film industry. In the end, Spielberg estimated that they managed to get about 80% of the copyrighted elements they desired. The production was not able to secure Close Encounters of the Third Kind from Columbia Pictures. The Dungeons & Dragons module Tomb of Horrors features in an important episode of the book the Copper Key Challenge, but that reference was excluded from the film, where the challenge features instead a huge car race in New York. However, the movie does reference the module. Artwork of the Tomb of Horrors demon appears on the back of H's van. Similarly, Blade Runner, which was integral to the plot of the book, was shelved as Blade Runner 2049 was in production at the same time as Ready Player One, and the producers at Alcon Entertainment feared that Spielberg's film could damage the commercial prospects of their film. As a replacement, the creative team had the players play through the events of The Shining, which Spielberg was able to secure the rights to as an homage to his friend Stanley Kubrick. Penn and Klein also thought that the film could be the opportunity to replace such a lengthy sequence with a more action-heavy one. Once they decided to use The Shining, they were doubtful at first that Spielberg would accept the change, but Spielberg did go for it. While Klein's original work heavily used the character of Ultraman, the rights over the character were still under legal dispute, requiring them to replace Ultraman with their titular robot from the Iron Giant and RX-78-2 Gundam. Spielberg recognized that his past films were a significant part of the 1980s pop culture cited in the book, and to avoid being accused of vanity, he opted to remove many of the references to his own work. Klein stated that he believed Spielberg wanted to avoid self-references to films he directed due to the criticism he received for his film 1941, which lampooned his previous works Jaws and Duel. Klein said he had to convince Spielberg to include some iconic elements such as the DeLorean time machine from Back to the Future, which Spielberg conceded as the film was one he produced rather than directed. Spielberg also allowed the Tyrannosaurus Rex from his own Jurassic Park to be included. Klein also asked ILM to include a reference to Last Action Hero, one of Penn's first screenplays. Without Penn's knowledge, a movie marquee in the Manhattan Race segment bears the name Jack Slater, the character Arnold Schwarzenegger played in that film. Let's talk about the release, Theatrical. Ready Ready Player One was originally scheduled to be released on December 15th, 2017. However, on February 9th, 2016, the film was delayed to March 30th, 2018 to avoid competition with Star Wars: The Last Jedi. In January 2018, it was announced the film's release date had been moved up by one day to March 29th, 2018. The film had its world premiere at the Paramount Theater in Austin, Texas on March 11th, 2018 as part of the South by Southwest Film Festival. Warner Brothers distributed the film worldwide, with Village Roadshow Pictures distributing in several overseas territories. Around the same time the film was released, massively multiplayer online game platform Roblox held an event based on it. The winner of the event was the user ROCU. Home Media. Ready Player One was released on digital copy on July 3rd, 2018, and on 4K UHD Blu-ray, Blu-ray 3D, Blu-ray, and DVD on July 24th, 2018. The film debuted at the top of the NPD Video Scan First Alert chart, a tracker of combined domestic Blu-ray and DVD unit sales for the week ending July 27th, 2018. It retained the number one spot on the chart for the week ending on August 4th, 2018. Let's talk about its reception. Box office. Ready Player One grossed $137.7 million in the US and Canada and $445.2 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $582.9 million. Deadline Hollywood estimated that the film would need to gross at least $440 million to break even. Wow. In the United States and Canada, Ready Player One was projected to gross $40 to $50 million from 4,100 theaters over its first 4 days. It made $12.1 million on its first day, including $3.75 million from Wednesday night previews. It ended up grossing $41.8 million in its opening weekend for a 4-day total of $53.7 million. The film made $24.6 million in its second weekend, finishing second behind newcomer A Quiet Place, and $11.5 million in its third weekend, finishing fourth. The critical response. On review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 72% with an average score of 6.8 out of 10 based on 444 reviews. The site's critical consensus reads, Ready Player One is a sweetly nostalgic thrill ride that neatly encapsulates Spielberg's strengths while adding another solidly engrossing adventure to his filmography. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 64 out of 100 based on 56 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A- on an A+ to F scale, and those at Post-Track gave the film an 82% overall positive score and a 65% definite recommend. In a review for RogerEbert.com, Brian Tallarico wrote that the film's overwhelming nature and non-stop action will likely thrill fans of pop culture, while he observed narrative weaknesses such as a lack of depth among the supporting characters. He felt they ultimately do not hinder the film from working on the level of technical blockbuster mastery that Spielberg helped define. Writing for Variety, Owen Gleiberman called the film a coruscating explosion of pop culture eye candy, and found the sequence based on The Shining to be irresistible. However, he criticized Spielberg's separation of fantasy and reality, and he said the film has more creativity than it does layers. IndieWire's Eric Cohn characterized the film as an astonishing sci-fi spectacle and a relentless nostalgia trip at once, and praised both the sequence based on The Shining and Penn's screenplay, particularly with respect to Mendelssohn's character. Nevertheless, he remarked that the film drags a bunch in its final third. Alyssa Wilkinson, writing for Vox, praised both the quality and quantity quality of the world building. She also commented on just how dystopian the future portrayed is, where the main characters fight to save the oasis and the escape from reality it represents, with arguably less concern for the problems of the real world. Film and television critic Matt Zoller Seitz praised Ready Player One and noted the undercurrent of sadness present in the film, stating that, "I don't think Spielberg gets enough credit for making sad films that most people interpret as happy, and complex films that are immediately dismissed as simple or confused." Seitz concluded that the film is a mess, but is a fascinating and complex one. In March 2019, a year after the film's release, Seitz determined that with Ready Player One's images commenting on capitalism and popular culture, the film was the second most interesting and substantive big-budget fantasy in 2018 after Black Panther, admitting that, "I still think about Ready Player One a lot, especially concerning the world around me." Monica Castillo was more critical of the film in a review for The Guardian and drew attention to the absence of character arcs, the lack of resolution for plot holes in the novel, and the bloating of scenes in the film by trivia. Alonso Duralde, writing for The Wrap, found the usage of pop culture references lacking and found his experience watching the film as feeling bombarded with images, bored by the lack of an interesting story, and irritated with my own cultural past. I've never been much of a video game player, but by the finale, I was ready to Leroy Jenkins my way out of the theater. We have some accolades here. And lastly, the sequel. When asked about a sequel to the film, Klein stated, "I think there's a good chance that if this one does well, Warner Bros. Will want to make a sequel. I don't know if Steven Spielberg would want to dive back in because he would know what he's getting into." He said that it's the third hardest film he's made out of dozens and dozens of movies. Co-star Olivia Cook and presumably the rest of the cast is contracted to sequels. Klein wrote a book sequel titled Ready Player 2, which was released on November 24th, 2020, stating in the acknowledgments that he had consulted Spielberg on the final draft of the book and were to take an adaptation. On December 22nd, 2020, Klein announced that a sequel was in the early stages of development. And I love that. I absolutely want to see a sequel. That wraps the article, by the way. It's on references now. We finished it. You know, personally, I think the takeaway from this one, I don't want to say takeaway, but I was taken aback at the fact that Spielberg resisted giving a bunch of his IP, I don't even want to say IP, just he didn't want to appear vain, so he resisted giving a bunch of the nostalgia, if you will, and the films that he made from the 80s and 90s. Sorry about the traffic, if you can hear that. Because, like I said, and like the article said, more importantly, he didn't want to come off as vain. And that bothers me because, dude, come on, that's what we're seeing it for. We want the nostalgia. Give us the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s aren't going to be there. It was 70s and 80s and maybe a little bit of 90s. But yeah, man, if you gave us everything, you even tossed some War of the Worlds in there, right? That would have been pretty cool. What other Spielberg stuff? Dude, there's a guy I should be reading about, actually. In fact, let's just go right up. And, oh wait, no, we can just click on it. We don't have to search for it. What other stuff? I might have to edit out motorcycle. What is that? No, that's a car. That's something else. Anyway, let's check it out. We have E.T., things that Spielberg potentially could have included, right? And realistically, he was helming this project with the original writer of the book. He could have referenced Jaws, Close Encounters. Well, they talked about that. They couldn't get the licensing from Columbia. E.T., Indiana Jones, right? Jurassic Park, they did use the T-Rex, Schindler's List. Good choice to leave that kind of stuff out. Although Hitler would have been the ultimate bad guy, right? AI, artificial intelligence, Minority Report, War of the Worlds, Lincoln, Maybe not, but that would be funny to see Lincoln with a machine gun. In fact, that's not too far off. Ever hear of Abraham Lincoln, a vampire hunter? There you go. Anyway, John Williams. There's another guy I need to read about. I really should be reading about Spielberg, though. Come on, let's get real. Let's see how long this wiki actually is. I'm sorry I'm straying from the point so much, but technically not. Ready Player One was a Spielberg adapted film. Yeah, that's what I thought. Just scrolling through this, we're looking at, oh my god, this may actually be the longest. This could beat Minecraft. This Spielberg read looks like it would be at least an hour and 45 minutes. Longer than even The Rock. This is absolutely absurd, but what do you expect from a career that has spanned, I'm guessing, 40, 50 years? It'll actually say in his window blurb over here. Years active. Come on, please stop that. 1959 to present. Wow, holy cow, are you kidding me? Steven Spielberg has been doing this for 50 years. More than 50 years, 60 years since he was 15-ish. Anyway, we're getting off topic, I apologize. Go, do whatever you're doing, talk to me in the comments. And, yeah, let me know what you want to see. Add any requests in there, let me know. Even if you want it to be Spielberg or John Williams, I have so much stuff on my plate now, I don't even think I'm going to do something unless someone actually requests it. So, if you want to see Spielberg, let me know. Alright, I'll talk to you guys. Bye-bye.